In today's video, I'm going to be showing you 5 simple redstone contraptions for Minecraft Bedrock Edition that you really should know, each with their own tutorial and explanation of how it works. Timestamps can of course be found in the description. So hello humans, I'm the TheAlienDoctor, but you can call me Alien, and let's get into the video. So the first thing we have here is a reliable and adjustable redstone clock. So I have made a video all about redstone clocks quite some time ago, and whilst my video skills back then weren't great, all the information in it is still accurate, and this is one of the ones I showed. What a redstone clock is a circuit that will basically continually turn on and off like an output. So you can see here, this redstone line is being constantly switched on and off. It's a redstone pulse. Now, it's adjustable in that you can, of course, change this repeater up here to make it slower or set it back to its default to make it faster. And it's reliable in that compared to the others, it doesn't really break that often because it is not reliant on hoppers or anything like that. I would suggest that you chunk align it, but it is not completely necessary to chunk align. But I wouldn't recommend leaving it on when you've unloaded the area because there is a chance it will turn itself off and in a glitchy kind of way. Now, you can probably tell just by looking at it, but the way it works is this redstone torch will power this block, powering this repeater, which powers this block, which then powers this redstone dust, which is then powering this block to turn off the repeater, thus making a cycle. So for the tutorial, you'll need 3 solid blocks of any type, 1 piece of redstone dust, 1 redstone repeater, 1 lever or just a power source in general. It doesn't have to be a lever, it could be a button, or you could have a redstone line going into it, and then 1 redstone torch. Firstly, it's a good idea to decide where you want the output to be. So you can either take a redstone output from this redstone torch or from this redstone dust that's here. So you're going to need to decide which side you want that to be on. For me, I'm going to build the redstone dust this way and the redstone torch that way. So it'll be the same orientation as this one I have over here. So to start off with, you're going to want to place down 1 of your solid blocks. This is what you're going to power to turn it on and off. So we're going to put a lever on the side, followed by a redstone repeater on top of that block. If you then crouch and place a block on the side of that repeater, which in the latest update is kind of annoying to do. There we go. And then do the same on the other side. Then on the side the repeater is facing, place in your redstone dust under this block. And finally, your redstone torch here. And as you can see, by default, it's on. So we'll just flick this lever to turn it off. And as I mentioned earlier, to take your outputs, you can take them from here or from here. Or you can have a nice alternating signal if that's what you want as well. So next we have a comparator-based pulse extender, as you can see right here. So a pulse extender basically increases the amount of time a redstone pulse lasts for. So, for example, if I press this button, you can see here this pulse lasts way longer than it would if we just had a normal redstone line with a button. So if we do these at both pretty much the same time, you can see this one still lasts for longer. So it depends on how powerful the actual original redstone signal is, because the redstone has to get all the way through these comparators and then all the way back here before it can like extend the pulse, if that makes sense. However, for a button, the max amount of comparators you can have is 5 on each side, totaling 10. The reason you can't add more is because the redstone signal that it's extending doesn't have enough time to make its entire way round if you add 2 more for this, for example. However, that depends on what input you are using. So to build this pulse extender, you'll need however many redstone comparators you want to use, and you'll need at least 2 redstone dust for each side, but you'll probably also need 1 coming off of the redstone dust going into your input and output. So for this tutorial, I'm going to be using 4 comparators, so 2 on each side, but you can of course use however many you want. So this button will represent the input and the lamp will represent the output. So coming off of your input, you're going to need 1 piece of redstone dust and then another like that. Then however many comparators you want to place on one side, so 2, and then a redstone dust coming off of that last comparator, and then 1 to the left of it. Or technically you could go the right and loop like round that way. Then we're going to spin round and place 2 comparators facing in the direction of your input. So this should be next to the 2 comparators you just placed. So it looks something like this. Then just place 1 piece of redstone dust here. So you should have 1 like redstone dust sort of going into two redstone dusts like this, if that makes sense. You couldn't have your input here most of the time. You will need a redstone dust and then a button. And then you simply just want to connect it up to your output. So it needs to be going out of the opposite side it came in, ideally. And then if we press the button to see it works, you can see here that the pulse has been extended. And now we have an Etho hopper clock. Now, I have shown this before in my very, very old clock video, but it's probably something that most people should know if they don't already, so I decided to include it in this video as well. So currently it's off, but I'm going to flick it on by switching this lever, which is optional, and you can see here it just creates a redstone clock. Now you could take a lot of different outputs from this, so you could take a comparator output from these hoppers, for example, to create a clock, as you can see here, or you could of course do the obvious one and take a redstone output from this redstone block that's on top. Now, the good thing about the Etho hopper clock, unlike the clock that I first showed, is that this one is much better for slow things, and it's very, very customizable. So I'm just going to turn it off so it's easier to show you. But you can see here that currently I have 2 blocks of diamond in the hopper. I could just put some more items in here and turn it on. And now the delay between each pulse is a lot longer. So it depends on how many items you have in the hopper as to how long it is. Now, the way that it works is that both hoppers have a comparator output that then powers this block, powering this redstone dust, which will then power the piston pushing this redstone block, which then powers or unpowers the hopper. So only one hopper can be moving its items into the other one at the same time, which is why both of these hoppers aren't just both swapping items at the same time. And you can see that represented by the resource pack I'm using from Bedrock Tweaks that lets me see when hoppers are powered. And whilst we're on the topic of giving credit for things, this was designed by Etho, whose channel I will make sure to link in the description. It was originally designed for Java, but amazingly it still works on Bedrock Edition. And to actually build it, you're going to need the following materials: 2 solid blocks of any type, 2 pieces of redstone dust, 1 block of redstone, 2 hoppers, 2 pistons, 2 comparators, and however many items you want to fill these hoppers. So I have 64 diamond blocks, but the less items, the less delay, the more items, the more delay. So to start off with, we're going to place a temporary block and then a hopper going into that block. And then we're going to destroy a temporary block and place a hopper facing into that. So we have our 2 hoppers here. Then do your comparator coming out of the hopper, block, redstone dust, and piston, which is very hard to do in this update. I guess I don't need to crouch. There we go. And then we're just going to mirror it on the other side. So comparator, block, dust, piston. And then finally add in your redstone block. And then on the hopper that isn't being powered by the block, add in all of your items. And as you can see here, as they slowly begin to filter through, you should now have a working redstone clock. Now, optionally, if you want to stop this thing from running, then you could just power one of these pistons and it will actually stop the whole redstone clock from working, which is quite nice. And over here, we have a piston / observer-based Trident killer. Now, lots of people seem to like design this or come up with similar designs at the same time, but the first person I saw that designed it was Silent Whisperer, whose channel I will also link in the description. Now, if you've done any sort of technical Minecraft Bedrock, then you'll probably know what a Trident killer is. And to show you, I'm going to extend these walls a bit so that no mobs jump out. And then I'm just going to get myself a creeper. And as you can see there, the creeper will actually die. So a Trident killer is an AFK method of killing mobs whilst still getting the XP. Now, one thing to bear in mind is that the player that threw the Trident originally has to be online to get the XP. So if I logged out, but somebody else was logged in using this, let's say on a server, they wouldn't get the XP because I'm not in the game. So they'd have to come in here and rethrow the Trident, which has disappeared because this is a weird game. Now, the other thing to bear in mind is that normally you'd have hopper minecarts underneath this picking up the items or some sort of item collection system. Now, the other reason that people like Trident killers so much on Bedrock Edition is because if you're holding a looting 3 sword like I am right now, then all the mobs that are killed in the Trident killer will have the looting 3 effect applied, as long as it's, of course, the player that threw the Trident. which is really, really great for AFK farms. It gives you lots of XP and lots of drops. And honestly, looting 3 Trident killers are one of the reasons that Bedrock farms are actually sometimes decent, at least comparable to Java. So the materials for the Trident killer are 4 pistons, 4 observers, 4 droppers, 16 solid blocks of any type, 1 trident, and 1 lever. Well, I have just realized that this actually isn't enough space, technically, so we're going to have to build, like, right next to the line, which I don't want to do. But anyway, we're going to start off with a dropper, which we're just going to place down here. It technically doesn't need to be facing upwards, but I like to put them facing up so that they're all the same orientation. Then you need an observer facing that dropper, followed by a solid block, another dropper, and then on one of the sides of the dropper, you want another observer, solid block, dropper, observer, solid block, dropper, observer, solid block, and then you should meet up with your other dropper like that. So you create a square and then just fill in with solid blocks the middle like so. Then on each solid block on the edges, place in your piston and then fill these in here as well like that. So now if you throw in your trident and put a lever on this block and then flick it, everything will go around once. If you flick it again, then the trident killer will start working. And of course, you're going to need to have some like extra walls. And of course, this is not a mob farm, so you're also going to need to hook it up to some form of mob farm. And last but not least, we're going to be taking a look at some reliable item filters, or actually just the same item filter, but it comes in different sizes, so I've built multiple of them here. Now, if I show you it from this view, you may recognize something similar if you've ever played Java Edition or watched any Java Edition YouTube. And that is this item filter right here. So this is the Impulse SV item filter. It's very, very well known, and it is not very reliable on Bedrock Edition through to hoppers and also this observer just making it kind of unreliable on Bedrock. So I wouldn't recommend building this. Instead, I'd recommend building the one that I'm about to show you. So this one is very similar to the Java one. However, it is slightly different in that it doesn't use a repeater so that it is considerably more reliable on Bedrock Edition. So the way it works is you have a hopper right here at the top with some filler items that have been renamed. So these items won't stack with anything that's going through the item filter. And then you need at least one of the item that you're sorting, but it will keep 41 of those items in that hopper. Unfortunately, there's no real way to change this because if you add more of these filler items, then it will just mess up all the other item filters that are built next to this. So the way it works is once one more diamond or whatever item you're filtering gets into this hopper, this comparator is reading that hopper and will power this redstone line, which just gets enough to unpower this redstone torch, which unpowers these hoppers or unlocks these hoppers, allowing them to sort of like filter items through. And then once it gets back down to 41, the signal strength isn't strong enough to turn off the torch, which means these hoppers get powered once again. So if I just put in loads, you can see there that this comparator signal is like strong enough to unpower this torch. And then there we go, the items have just finished filtering, so we should see, yeah, 41 in there. Now over here we have, well, a much bigger one. So it's actually still the same design, as you can see. It is still an item filter, exactly the same as this one over here. It's just bigger. So you could have like an infinite amount of chests and hoppers on this side as long as the same item filter is always at the top. So this will still work. I'm pretty sure, yep, it still uses diamonds. So if we put these diamonds into this hopper, you can see here that they'll all get filtered into the bottom chest. Sometimes, because Bedrock Edition is a bit weird, the items may also get put into the top chest when it's really big like this. But that's just Bedrock Edition being weird. And then the other important thing to know is that it's tileable, so you can build lots of them together. And oh, I'm also demonstrating something else here, in that if you really want to, you don't have to use this target block. You could instead use a piston. So the reason we're using a target block or a piston is actually because it redirects redstone. So on Bedrock Edition, pistons, when they're facing the other way, redirect redstone, as you can see, and that's the same with target blocks, whereas if we just put a normal block here, it does not redirect, which is also something I made a video about previously. So the other thing in this demonstration that I wanted to show you is that it's tileable. So we have 3 item filters literally right next to each other, and it doesn't interfere at all. So we have emeralds in this one, gold in this one, and diamonds in this one. And as you can see here, I have 64 of each item. Each chest currently has 23 in, so I'll empty that. And then if we flick this lever to unpower the hopper, you can see our in perch will go in, and this hopper line is going across these top hoppers. So that is the other thing about item filters. You will need some sort of item transportation above these top hoppers, as you can see here. You can't just have them going in a row. So you can just use a simple hopper line like I have here, or some water, or something like that. But anyway, you can see here, these items are getting filled into the item filter like that. So we already have the 64 diamonds. We are now seeing the emeralds coming in, and then once they're done, if I just take them out, we'll also start to see the gold coming in. Anyway, to build a single slice of this item filter, you will need 3 redstone dust, 4 solid blocks, 1 target block, or of course piston and obsidian, 2 pieces of glass, 2 redstone comparators, or sorry, 1 redstone comparator, 1 redstone torch, 4 hoppers, however many chests you want to use. However, you always need 1 more hopper than you have chests, and that's not including the bit at the top which carries the items as well, so bear that in mind. And then also some filler items that are renamed so they don't stack with anything else, such as this sub-to-alien dirt, as well as at least 1 of the item that you're filtering. So to start off with, we're going to place your bottom 2 chests. Technically, it could also be a single chest, but I don't know why you do that. And then we're just going to place 3 chests here like that. And then on the back of each chest, we need to place hoppers. Then place a temporary solid block on top of the hopper, then 1 coming off of that. Break this and place a hopper here going into that block. And this is actually in proper block, not temporary, because we want to go underneath it by 1 and then across from that by 1 as well. So we have something that ends up like this. I accidentally pressed Q then. Then place a comparator so it's sort of in this not proper L shape, followed by a piece of glass here, redstone dust on top of the glass, temporary block underneath the glass, then glass on the side of that block, redstone dust on top of the glass, and then break the temporary block that was here. You may need a block here as well, depending on how low down you're building this, and then redstone dust on top of that. Then place in your target block here, followed by your redstone torch. Then in this top hopper, place in the item you want to sort, followed by all of your filler items like this, so that the hopper has no empty spaces. And then if I were to grab some diamonds and just throw them on top of this hopper, you'll see that they all start to filter through nicely. And that is going to be it for today's video. So if you're interested in more Minecraft Bedrock Edition content like this, then don't forget to subscribe today to join the Alien Empire. Other than that, I'll see you in the next video coming very, very soon. Bye.